We will be going live in 4 minutes. We will be going live in 4 minutes. Good afternoon. Welcome to Tech Tuesday TV at Southwest ISD. I'm your host, Dodie Maddox. I'm the Director of Instructional Technology. You can also find me on Twitter at Tech Out Learning, and you can read my blog at techoutlearning.blogspot.com. You have joined our first episode, and in a few minutes we'll get to the topic of keeping your Google Drive organized. But first, a little bit about what this show is and how it came to be. So, each summer, I have a team of 4, including myself. And each summer, we expand our knowledge and comfort by trying out new pet projects. My project this summer is T Cubed, Tech Tuesday TV, and it will be streamed live every Tuesday. The exact time will change. The idea is that different people are available at different times. So this summer we're going to offer it at multiple different times and see which ones are the most popular. And during this, I want to take some time to share tips on how to use technology and take learning beyond. Learning no longer occurs in a set amount of time in a set classroom with a teacher dictating exactly what students learn. Learning can happen anytime and anywhere. What is learned depends on what is available. So with the use of technology, teachers can make their content what's available to students to learn when and where students are ready to learn that information. So now let's go ahead and jump into the topic of Organized Drive. And if you are joining live, feel free to post hello in the live chat or any questions you might have. I'll do my best to get those answered for you. So, why is it important to organize Google Drive? Well, there are a lot of reasons. But our district is just finishing our first year on the switch to Google. And one of the things I have said throughout this transition is you must set up an organization system for Google Drive in order to stay organized. And to this day, I do believe that is true. Otherwise, you end up with a drive that looks like this, with no rhyme or reason to where to find your files. So the first thing we're going to talk about is over on the left side, these little topics over here. It's important to know that while my drive, and some of you may have team drives, you may not, but like my drive, team drives is a folder. Then you have a little line, and then these items underneath, shared with me, recent, Google Photos, starred. These are all filters, meaning it goes through all of your folders and shows you what's shared with me, no matter what folder it's in. The same with recent. I often get asked, why can I not organize my shared with me folder? And the answer is because it is not a folder, it is a filter. So knowing that will help you get started on organizing. When you are in the shared with me folder and you find something that is shared with you, say this is it, and I want to organize it so that I can find it later, what I want to do is add it to the folder My Drive. And I do that with this little symbol right up here. That's the drive symbol with the plus sign. And when I click there, it says it's added to my drive. And now I can undo that, or I can organize where it landed. So I'm going to go ahead and click Organize and then decide, where do I want this? Well, I look and I don't see a great place for it, so I'm going to use this button here to create a new folder and call it Lesson Plans. 2017. And then I can now click the Move Here button, and it has moved that lesson plan. Notice it's still in the Shared With Me folder. I can remove it from Shared With Me by hitting the trash can, but it will still be in my drive in the lesson plan folder. And there it is. So if you want to organize your Shared With Me, the best way to do it is to find the file, add it to your Google Drive, organize it into a specific folder, and then remove it from the Shared With Me folder. That way, the stuff that is being shared with you is more apparent when you go into the Shared With Me filter. So let's go back to my drive. And I just created this lesson plans folder while I was adding a file. That is one way to add a folder. Another way is while I'm in my drive, so my drive is highlighted, that's what I see here. I go to the New button and I choose a new folder. And so maybe I want to call this folder Chromebooks. And I hit Create. And now I have a folder named Chromebooks. Now I can take this file right here that's on Chromebooks and drag and drop it into the Chromebook folder here. I could also take a document and drag and drop it into the folder here. Another thing that's important to know about folders is that you can have folders nested within other folders. So I'm going to click here on my lesson plan folder. So notice when I click on it here, it opens it over here, and that's what I see. I could also double click my lesson plan folder, get the same view. Either way works. But in my lesson plans, I want a folder. So I'm going to do the same thing, New folder. And I want this one for my HyperDocs. So now when I go to my drive, if I use my tree here on the left, I can use the delta to drill down, and now I can see my HyperDoc folder, and I can go right here and say, okay, I want to put this HyperDoc in my HyperDoc folder, and I'm going to put this HyperDoc in my HyperDoc folder. And now I've moved and organized the folders that those are in. You are able to use the Shift button to select more than one item. And the Command button to select items that aren't necessarily next to each other and drag and drop those into folders as well. Let's go ahead and put these two in a folder. And now you can see I have all of my folders organized, or I have all my files put into folders. This is a nice look for the amount of files I have. But typically we have a lot more files than this. So I may need another level of organization. The method built into Google, if you right click on a folder, you get an option to change the color. So I want my archives to be brown, and it changes the color of my folder here and here to the brown. Let's make Chromebooks red. And let's make Classroom green. yellow, and blue. So you can color code your folders as well. So inside of your lesson plan folder, we have a folder for HyperDocs, but we might have a folder for math, science, social studies, reading, and writing. And we can make each of those folders a different color if we so choose. That is one organization method, but it's not the only one. I like to also add another layer of organization, and I got this idea from a blog post created by Alice Keeler, and I will share that with you in the show notes. But the website is called copypastecharacter.com. And what it does is it creates these characters that you can copy and then paste into the name of your folder. So I'm going to go with numerical because I like to put my folders in numerical order where I can find them. So I'm going to start here. So I'm going to take this number 1. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to my folder. And I want lesson plans to be my number 1. So I'm going to right click and choose rename. At the very beginning now, I put in paste and a space so that one that I just copied off of copypastecharacter.com shows up there, and I click OK. So now if you notice over here in my sidebar, that becomes my first folder because it's number 1 folder. So that's a way that you can put them in order that's not necessarily alphabetical. That way you can still give them the name you want, the name that makes sense to you, but you're able to organize them in an order that makes sense to you as well. So let's do that again. We go to copypastecharacter.com. I'm in the numbers. I choose the character I want, which is the number 2. I copy it. Now I'm going to go to my classroom folder, and I'm going to right click on it so that I can rename it. I will paste in the number 2, hit OK, and there it is. It has moved that up to my number 2 folder. Another thing you may notice as you look at these folders is that some of them have this little person on them, and these do not. What that tells me is that this folder and everything in it has been shared, but these folders are not shared. Now, if I go into my Google Classroom, it has folders that have been shared and one that has not, but everything in that folder is not necessarily shared. So anytime you put something in a folder, it takes on the shared permissions of the folder that you are putting it in. So let's take this lesson plan here and let's move it to web resources because that's a shared folder. See, I get a warning that says, moving this item will share it with everyone who can see the shared folder, web resources. And then I have the chance to say, yes, that's what I want to do. Or I can cancel and say, no, wait, I don't want to share that with everybody. I don't want to share this one right now, so I'm going to hit cancel, and it will leave it right where it is. This is a great way if you have groups or teams that you share documents with, is you create a folder for that team. So I'm going to go to my drive, and I'm going to say new folder, and I'm going to say tech team. Now let's do the Chrome Squad. Here we go. Chrome Squad. Then I go to this folder, see how it's selected here. I'm going to go up to the share button. Now I can put in everybody that's a member of my Chrome Squad. You see now the folder has the little shared icon on it telling me it has been shared. So now if I want to share a document with the Chrome Squad, I can either drag and drop or move it from the shared file to the Chrome Squad folder or wherever I need to. Or if it's a new document, I just open the Chrome Squad folder and I build the new document from right here. Notice it says you're creating it in a shared folder, therefore it will have those shared permissions. Is that what you want to do? And yes, it is. And so now I can go in and make my document. You notice over here that it shows that it has been shared with 2 people, and that is because that's how many people the folder is shared with. So that's a really convenient way to stay organized in your drive, is to have folders set up for those people that you regularly share with, and then just put the items in there. So let's look here. We have this resource in our website resources. We have a folder called Lesson Library. And I'm going to go to the Chromebook folder. And here's a great Chromebook lesson that I actually want in my lesson plans. But if I move it to my lesson plans, it will no longer be available in the lesson library shared with my teachers. So what should I do? Well, notice I have this item highlighted. On my keyboard, I'm going to hit Shift Z. Well, Shift Z. Oh, wait. There we go. You hit Shift Z. And now notice down here it says Add Here. So what I'm going to do in my drive under Lesson Plans, and it is a HyperDoc, so I'm going to put it in the HyperDocs folder, I'm adding it. I'm not moving it, I'm adding it. So that means the same file can be found in 2 different places. It does not mean I have 2 copies of that file, I just have 2 different ways of accessing it. So if I go here and make a change, it will still appear here with those same changes. This is important, especially when you start moving files around. So maybe you take a folder, you take an item that's in a folder that's not shared and you add it to a folder that it is. Later on, you may not want to share that item anymore. You're going to need to be sure you take it out of all the folders you have it in that are shared. We actually just had a situation like that in our district where it was an item that was stored in 2 different folders, and that's why the sharing permissions were different than what they should have been. When you're in a folder and you right click on a file, you get a lot of different options. Notice that Add To is not here. You have to do the Shift Z to get the Add To, but there is a Move To. And so move is where you're taking it from one location and moving it into another location. The move is really good when you are working with your filters down here and you want to move a file to a different place. So now that we've built all of our folders like we want, now we can go back to this Shared With Me and we can look through here and say, oh look, here's a HyperDoc. I want to add that to my drive. I'm going to organize it so that I can put it in my lesson plans in my HyperDoc folder. It's been moved, and now I can remove it from the Shared With Me and find out what else I want to move. So let's recap what we've went through. We have talked about making folders to keep yourself organized. We have talked about embedding or nesting folders within folders so that you can control how many things you're looking at once. If I had all of these folders at the top level, it would be very overwhelming. You can add codes to your folders to control or to help label what kind of topic they are. Folders that have the little person icon on it indicate a folder that has been shared. Items placed in a folder will have the same share permissions as the host folder. Items can be moved from one folder to another or added so they can be accessed in multiple places. The items above this line are considered folders. The items below are considered filters, and is why you're not able to organize the things that you find below. We've also talked about using special characters to name your folders so that they appear in a specific order or are grouped together. You could put a little Apple symbol for all of your Apple items, and you could put the Windows symbol for all of your Windows Microsoft items or different things like that. The last one, and we've talked about how to move things from the shared with me and add them to my drive and organize them. One last thing I want to show you is up here in the search bar. This is probably my favorite feature of Google Drive, is that I don't even have to remember the name of a file as long as I remember something that's in it. So say I type in HyperDoc, and it's going to give me the two most popular, or it's going to give me the popular choices right here. And notice HyperDocs is the title of those items. But if I hit here, it's actually going to go in and take me further in, and it'll actually show me documents. This isn't a great example, but where the word HyperDoc is actually a part of the document itself. We do a lot of our inventory in Google Sheets and with some add-ons, and this is a great way when we get an item, we can just type in the asset tag number and it'll search all of Google Drive and give us, hey, it's on this spreadsheet that belongs to this campus, so you know where that goes. Okay, last thing on episode 1 is I want to share with you the Tech Tuesday TV website. It is part of the instructional technology website at Southwest ISD. So you can see here, this is our URL, and it is a bit long. I will add this in YouTube so it's easier to access, but it's sites.google.com/SWISD.net/DLT/professional-development-training/tech-Tuesday-TV. When Google Sites lets us put our own domain name on the new sites, we will be redirecting this to make that URL easier. Here you can see the date of each episode, the topic, the time, because remember I said for the summer we're going to kind of experiment with different times and see what works the best, the link to our live channel, and here is the show notes. So by clicking on the show notes, you'll get to view a Google Doc that tells you, shows you what we're kind of covering. So here you can link to my blog and learn a little bit about me. This link takes you to Google Drive. Here's the topics we covered. Here is the link to the special characters that website that I shared that I use. And then down here, I'm going to give it some shout outs and feedback. So I'm hoping to get some comments and feedback from viewers, and so that I can address that in future episodes. But I'm going to start with the Google Teacher Tribe podcast, who just released episode 20. I have been a follower of the podcast since the beginning. I love the excitement and the tips that they share, and they have truly inspired me to take my game to the next level and which is why I'm bringing in this TV, live YouTube live TV. I also want to share the resources where I learned about organizing my Google Drive. So here's a link to Google Drive Help. Earlier, I did mention Alice Keeler has a blog on how to organize Google Drive. So this is 10 tips for folders in Google Drive. It's a great blog. If you don't follow Alice Keeler, you should. It's especially important for math teachers, but all teachers can learn a lot. She's got a lot of great freebies out there, and she's just wonderful. And here you see Shake Up Learning blog, and that is Casey Bell. She is one of the co-hosts of the Google Teacher Tribe, along with Matt Miller from Ditch That Textbook. And here she has a Google Drive cheat sheet where it helps you kind of learn. And once you understand Google Drive a little bit better, it's a lot easier to upload and organize your files. So this little cheat sheet that Casey has shared is a great tool to use to get your Google Drive organized. Well, I do not see any comments in the chats, so we are going to call it an episode. Thank you for joining in on our episode 1 of Tech Tuesday TV, or T Cubed at SWISD.